Can I get you to, because bureaucracy and then your work with government and you've worked with government for long, it's like the big Titanic.
Yes.
You have to move the ship in a new direction, and then it takes not just one tugboat, probably many tugboats to push the whole big Titanic. And bureaucracy naturally do not want change. That's the natural landed behavior or learned behavior across the decades. So how, first of all, I think you share your experience in terms of working with bureaucracy, and how do you bring meaningful change longer term?
Really great question, actually, and I'll focus on one particular public sector agency, 36,000 employees, right?
Wow.
And bureaucracy has its own stronghold, as you just quite rightly said. So how do you navigate through there? And the thing is that we've got to have a leadership mindset about change in the first instance. So actually focusing on the top level of change is one of the most important things, and to be able to get a committed group of leaders that can cascade that message down the organisation. There are things that are driving forces and immovable forces, and that is things like legislation. Bureaucracy is often a learnt experience, as you know, but it's also a strategic design format in an organisation as well. But one of the things that was really shifted a bureaucracy was COVID. And in this particular organisation, just after the first lockdown, I was running a senior executive programme with multi-departments in the public sector. So it went from the likes of maybe corrective services to health or whatever, various things, various departments were in this session. And we were talking about, absolutely what's changing in the environment, and sort of everybody laughed as if to say, are you joking? And I mentioned the notion of how did it tip the groundswell and the bureaucratic stronghold when we had to be agile, and that is a word that lots of people use, agile processes, and with deep respect, Deb, I feel like sticking my finger down my throat when I hear it, because some people that couldn't be agile out of a paper bag about anything else, and so we were talking about what has happened in the post-COVID environment, and during that, and somebody stood up and said, what bureaucracy has held us back to make change that's usually taking 3 years to move an office, for example. We did things in 6 weeks. And for me, that really, really hones in on one of the absolute critical things about change. And dare I say, I'd like to think I've thought about it myself, but it was John Cotter himself. He said, change will not occur unless you create a sense of urgency. And so that is the language now that I use as a change consultant, for the want of a better word, around in this state of complexity and uncertainty, there is a constant level of urgency. And what I hear all the time, Deb, is that we've got to build resilience. And building resilience is one thing, but there is a residue impact of resilience, which is change fatigue. And we're seeing that in organisations. And with this, never-ending changing environment, people are very tired, they're losing process, they're just working within a bureaucracy, almost like, just coming into work and then something happens in the space and they go back home, One of the biggest things around that, Deb, is to understand we've got to use the language, instead of saying we should be resilient, let's build resilience. There's a new word of the moment, and you may think that this is just semantics, but it's endurance.
Yeah.
We've got to build endurance to the ever accelerating rate of change.